Hi, welcome to my Happy Cells and Souls YouTube channel. I am Julie Powers, and I am a business partner with the Juice Plus company, and I am a licensed Zumba instructor. And my mission in life is really to kind of help people understand that life is better when they're dancing through it, and I want to inspire healthy living around the world. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. And so I believe that our time here on earth is meant to be happy and joyful. And if we can learn to take care of our bodies in healthy, happy ways, then we're going to enjoy life a lot more. And if we can remember to embrace our inner joy and happiness, we're going to be able to spread a lot more light into the world. And that's what I am hoping that this YouTube channel will do, because I have had the honor and privilege of getting to know some really remarkable people throughout my life. And for those people that come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different political or religious views, I don't care, because I believe that every single person has something to share that's a really good thing to learn from. And I want to learn from everybody, because if we're not learning and growing, then we're dying and shriveling up, right? And we don't want to do that. So I think that we should have really good conversations with people. And today I get to talk to April and Danny Lochhead, and they have a really great story to share. So I'm going to go ahead and ask them to unmute their lines so that they can be ready to talk. April and I met through the Juice Plus company. She is a sideline buddy of mine, and she has a really fantastic story about Danny. And I'm going to let both of them sort of talk this out, but it kind of goes back years when Danny, who is now 21 years old, was 6.5, and they got a really scary and difficult diagnosis. So April, do you want to take us back to that time?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, if I get choked up, I apologize. It's amazing how when you go back in time and memory, so much just bubbles back up. So let's see, it was February of 2005, and Danny was in kindergarten, and he was complaining about chest pain. So he had pain like up near the collarbone. The school called and said he can't run around the track. He's in tears. Something's wrong. So we took him to the pediatrician, and they thought maybe it was indigestion. We thought, well, gosh, maybe it's a little kindergarten-itis going on. He's the eldest of 3 boys. There was another brother 2 years younger who was in preschool, and a baby in the household who was 9.5 months. So we really didn't know. Things started moving really fast. The next thing we know, we're in for a biopsy for a spot in his chest following a CT scan. And we're being sent to an orthopedic oncologist. We're like, what? An orthopedic oncologist? Long story short, a couple of biopsies and some pretty stressful hospital visits, we get a confirmed diagnosis that Danny had Ewing's sarcoma. Very unusual for a child his age. It's normally in boys between 12 and 18 years old. He was 6.5. It settled in a very unusual place in his body. It settled in the rib cage. It's more common in the leg, the pelvis, the spine. And it was a whirlwind. We got through all of his tests. He had a portacath put in his chest to help with blood draws and chemo and things like that. They hit children ridiculously hard with chemotherapy. So Danny's protocol, and it's still the same protocol today, 14.5 years later, was we were in the hospital for 3 days, always over a weekend, constant chemo drip. We'd be home for 3 weeks. We'd go back in the hospital for 5 days with a constant chemo drip. Danny, unfortunately, was a bleeder. His platelets would drop so low that if he got a nick, a nosebleed, anything, we would be hospitalized. So for the first 3 months, we were actually in the hospital about 26 out of every 30 days. And
Wow,
keep in mind, we still had 2 young children at home.
that's a
So,
lot. That's a lot to handle. What was the actual prognosis for Danny?
Julie, it's interesting. When we first started, and I'll never forget our very first meeting in the hospital with the oncologist, they took Danny to a playroom and had him play, and the doctor started talking statistics. And I said, oh no, I don't want to hear statistics. Statistics were bad. Danny really did not have a good chance of survival. But my husband, Ed, and I said, no, we're going to do everything that we can. We are his advocate. And every parent needs to be that. Your children don't have a voice, and that's hard. I don't care what the age. My mom is now 93, and I'm her advocate. But you've just got to be brave to stand up and ask questions and sometimes say no to things. So anyway, I didn't want to know the statistics. It didn't matter. Danny was going to survive. We
That's
were going to
great.
do
I mean,
everything it
that's
took
amazing. Yeah.
for him to survive.
Danny, do you
So
remember that at all? Do you remember at 6.5 that initial conversation about that? Did you have any idea what was really going on in your life?
No, I mean, I'm sure memory is kind of left as time's gone by. But what I remember most from that time, from the beginning of diagnosis, was I remember the chest pains, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night with them, and at school, like everything my mom said. Um, but then I don't remember learning about it, but I remember all of a sudden we're just going to the hospital all the time, and I basically felt like crap all the time. Yep,
Right.
and then I was bald, and even when I lost all my hair, it was one like fateful day where I lost all my hair, where I woke up with no hair, and then I was running around the playground, and my friends and I were saying who could pull the most hair out of my head in one bunch.
Well, you might as well make it fun, right?
Right, yeah, and that's what I did because I was so young, I didn't really know what was going on, but
Right.
um, yeah, and then it was just pretty much constant hospital visits and stuff like that.
So April, you were saying that because you were Danny's advocate, you and your husband, and it's a really big role to play because a lot of times we just take every medical professional's word as if it's golden and that they know all the answers. But I have found that the best medical professionals and the best medical teams that ever worked with my daughter when she was with us were those that recognized that they didn't have all the answers and that they would welcome questions and they would say, I don't know. And so, what did you find about, going through this whole thing were some of the pieces of the puzzle that you didn't think that the medical team had it all quite right and you decided to take your own direction?
So Danny, again, like I told you, he was extremely neutropenic and very sick. He was teeny tiny. I mean, skin and bones. I mean, he was a kid going through chemo. He would, he'd be hooked up to chemo drip and he'd be eating his lunch and he'd go, Mom, I'm going to get sick. And I'd hold up a bucket for him and he'd throw up and then he'd go back to eating his lunch. It was kind of funny. I mean, we went through a lot, but I was really upset with the nutrition. And we all know that our bodies need food, water, and sleep. Food, water, and sleep. So we went to the hospital nutritionist, and their answer was, we're going to give him ice cream and fried chicken and junk. And I basically said, no. My husband and I said, there is no way. This is not how we're going to get him through this. And we were maybe a third of the way through treatment, a 1-year-long protocol. So there's a doctor here in Tucson, Andrew Weil, who's very into, one of his lectures is Peas Before Prescriptions. So he's all about food and nutrition. Unfortunately, he didn't see pediatrics, but we got in with one of his proteges, Dr. Sanford Newmark. We went and sat down with Dr. Newmark, and he went through how we cook. And my husband and I are both cooks. We love to cook. You dance in your kitchen, we dance in our kitchen and cook and we laugh, and food is just part of our family. Anyway, he complimented us on a lot of what we were doing with raw fruits and vegetables. He recommended we get rid of white sugars, white flours, and he recommended Juice Plus. And Juice Plus, I will forever say, is what helped turn Danny around. It is whole food nutrition in a capsule or a gummy. There's nothing else like it on the market. It's a food. You are feeding your body. 3 weeks after we started Juice Plus, the oncologists asked me what we had done. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, Danny should be plummeting with his blood counts, and he's actually coming back up faster. And the only thing we had done, Julie, was start him on a daily aggressive protocol of Juice Plus. To this
And,
day, the whole family takes it.
right. And for the people that are maybe watching this right now, I want to make sure that they understand that Juice Plus was just a piece of the puzzle, because you were feeding Danny really good food at home, and you took that part very seriously. But that because Juice Plus is food and it has a whole variety of vine ripened, um, different fruits, vegetables, and berries, then it allows each person to have that daily dose, daily servings of all kinds of rainbow of colors of nutrition. And so you guys were able to add that to help bridge that gap. And if there's somebody out there who's looking for a way to get easy breezy capsule or chewable form fruits, vegetables, and berries, then that's an option that I would say seek someone out. If it's not April and it's not me, then I know that you know somebody who's very close to you that has a connection to a Juice Plus rep and can help you with that. But I'm wondering about, can you take us a little bit farther down the road and how Danny got through all this to where he is now in college and living in a house and going to be graduating fairly soon, right? And
So,
we hope. And so if you can talk about that, and maybe Danny can explain what that's been like for him, kind of going through this transition from really sick kid to much healthier kid to now a healthy young man. So tell us about that.
So I'm going to say something, Danny, and then I want you to talk about the college experience. But we started him on the Juice Plus, continued all of our healthy eating and cooking at home. Again, Juice Plus bridges the gap, and you can't get the variety in our grocery stores of what Juice Plus offers. So that was one of the key components, was the variety that Juice Plus offered. But I will tell you, so Danny was diagnosed in kindergarten. He went all through school right on time. He missed a lot of school. Teachers were fantastic. But because we amped him up, he rarely got sick and missed school. He's prone to upper respiratory issues because he's missing five ribs, and a portion of his upper lobe of lung, his pec, and his latissimus muscle. So he's missing quite a bit of body part, which is a big deal, okay?
Right.
But health-wise and nutrition-wise, he made it through school, graduated from high school on time, and entered the University of Arizona. Danny, that's where I want you to talk, because we all know that college students don't eat right.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, it was incredibly impactful for me and my college experience thus far, especially freshman year. Because I mean, I had grown up being totally spoiled rotten by my mom and dad's awesome, nutritious cooking. On top of that, I was a soccer player my whole life too after chemotherapy. So I had a very strict, not very strict, but a regimen of the stuff that I knew my body needed to function properly on an advanced level. And I'm also really big in the gym, and sports, nutrition, fitness is really big for me. So I get to college and I realize why the freshman 15, freshman 20, or in my case freshman 25 was a real thing. Because the access to food is so limited, especially when you're living on campus in a dorm and you're a freshman and you don't have that regimen to follow anymore. But
And because they have all those giant containers of sugary cereals and
right.
never-ending.
I mean, I was eating Panda Express ungodly amounts of every week. But the one regiment that I did stick to was my Juice Plus, taking at least one serving of my greens, reds, the vines, and the omega-3s every single day. And I mean, I felt like I was on a different level, nutritious wise, compared to everybody else. I mean, even my college roommate, he got sick like 3 times, and I never saw the on-campus doctor or anything one time. So, and I take them every day still, and now I'm living in my own house, and things are a little more sanitary and a little more defined, but I still swear by it. And as a college student, I'd say helped me, I don't want to say survive college, but it's helped me stay the course in a lot of ways. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that you probably use the complete drink mix as well.
Yes,
And
yes. I use the complete drink mix for its protein and for all the vitamins and minerals in it for, after the gym or as just meal supplements throughout the day. I mean, it works perfect for me.
well, I know that that's something that my son did in college as well when he lived in the dorm and in his own apartment was he had a little NutriBullet and he could make
Right.
steak and he kind of really stuck to the peanut butter and coconut milk and the chocolate complete with
Yeah.
banana in it. That was like his everyday go-to snack before tennis practice or whatever. So Danny, tell me, what is life like for you in terms of, do you think that you have a broader perspective on why we're here? What are, to why we need to find our purpose in life? Do you feel like you have a purpose that you were supposed to live and be here to tell this information to the world? Or do you know that there's something burning in your soul that you're just like, that is going to be me?
Well, that's a really big question that I ask myself about every day, and it changes about every day. Um, but one thing that I do truly believe in is the power of whole foods, and I try and structure my life around a regimen of eating whole foods and staying healthy. And um, Juice Plus has helped me with that a lot. And Juice Plus, through my mom's experience, kind of looking outward on how it was administering it to me when I was younger and how my story was shaped by it, um, really kind of opened my eyes to how important it all really is. So,
Right. So April, what do you think? Do you think that um, how do you think your perspective on life has changed with going through this? Because, I sometimes it's really hard when you're in the middle of something that is that scary and life threatening and confusing and exhausting. And you get it. I don't know. I know that at some point I probably had those days where I was like, oh, woe is me. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? I don't
Mhm.
understand. Why this? Why her? Why me? Why our family? Did you ever have those feelings?
Of course. So it's interesting, Julie. One of the very first hospital visits, in fact, the one where they wanted to talk statistics, and I said, no, I don't want to hear them. The oncologist said to Ed and me, okay, you guys right now, right here, have to make a conscientious decision. You're either going to come out of this divorced or you're going to come out of it together. And it's going to take a lot of work. And every day it took a lot of work because you are scared, you're exhausted. Again, we still had the two younger boys at home. The oncologist also said, so Danny has the disease, but the family has cancer. And your world is forever changed. And
Right.
it's true. Danny and I are fortunate enough to get to do some public speaking and awareness about pediatric cancer. Often you hear of a pediatric cancer patient, you think leukemia, which is the most common pediatric cancer. Bone cancer, children don't get bone cancer, and it's non-environmental. So this isn't something, I mean, I was never been a smoker. He was never around smoke. It wasn't food. It wasn't environment. It just
It just
happened.
happened. It
It
just happened.
just happened.
Right.
Um, I'm sure that there were those times that I said, God, why me? Why us? Why this precious little boy? But I think we made the conscientious decision to say, okay, A, we're going to beat it. No, we're not going to listen to statistics. B, we're going to eat healthy. We're going to eat right because we know that's how he's going to heal. And then we get to go tell the story. And we
Right.
get to spread the word, share the love, and say, look, there are answers out there and there is support out there. And it sucks. I mean, cancer sucks.
It does.
But then you've got a Danny and he's a survivor. And that's why the doctors and nurses do what they do.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what you said about the people at the hospital told you, you're either going to come through this divorced or you're going to try to figure out how to
Mhm.
stay together. That we had that same conversation. Now, in your case, it's a little bit different because he had to be in the hospital on a regiment on a course that you knew was going to be this amount of time every so often, but you didn't know the in between parts. Uh,
Correct.
but when they had that conversation with me and my husband about possibly putting our daughter Emma into a home, we were like, "Are you kidding? She's
Right.
coming with us. You know, she's like, 3 months old. We're not going to put her in a home. She's, part of our family." But we decided at that moment that we had a death pact. It was you leave, you die.
Hmm.
You're either going to die of guilt for leaving the family, or one of us will hunt down the other one and bring us back. So there was really no way that either one of us was getting out of this other than together. And so I really applaud you and Ed for doing that as well, because it is extremely stressful.
Yes.
But now I look at things very differently. And I believe that Emma fulfilled her purpose on
Mhm.
life, in life, and that she was only supposed to be here for a short period of time. And I think it was partly to teach me some lessons,
Mhm.
not necessarily during that time, but now I'm learning a lot of lessons from that experience. And I'm guessing that when you guys look back on this experience, you're able to see things in a much clearer way that you might not have been able to see at that time about being able to help other people. And I love that you guys are out there spreading the word about nutrition and taking care of yourself, and you don't have to succumb to all the other things during a cancer treatment that so many people do. When you walk down an oncology wing and you see all the very sick people,
Oh.
and then there's this anomaly, there's
Mhm.
there's a Danny here and there, and you're like, how does that happen? Well, they've got something figured out. They've got something figured out, and it's a big piece of the puzzle. So we have about 30 seconds left, and so I want to give you an opportunity to say one last thing if you have any final thoughts.
Well, just everything we've been saying, and just appreciate people for who they are and your family. And I mean, I have so much love for my family and my mom and dad and my brothers. And this whole experience with me having cancer and all the time leading up to this moment right now has just been strength building. And um, as a unit, I love our family, and it makes me appreciate life for what it is. It's a fragile thing, so best to take care of yourself.
I think that's great. I've met your mom and your dad, but I've not ever met your brothers. And so they are pretty special. And your mom is a rock. And so
Yeah.
you are very, very fortunate. And I know that whenever you go home to visit, that you get all those really good meals again. And
Yeah.
have any final thoughts?
Julie, I just want to share with you real quick. Danny goes through yearly scans, and this past January, we went through all of his scans, his heart tests, and everything, and he was officially released from pediatric oncology.
Isn't that amazing?
It's huge. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
because pediatrics will follow a patient indefinitely if they were diagnosed with something like what Danny had. So that's amazing. And congratulations on everything, and thank you for being part of the living and part of, no, seriously, about not just being alive, but being part of the living, because I think there's a difference between being alive and actually living.
Right.
You guys are both spreading light in the world and joy and happiness, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Julie.